Yourself a leaf blower. And here we go. All right, let's do this. I love it. Look at this. Alan Titchmarsh, what are leaf blowers for? What is it for?
Moving leaves around and irritating the neighbours. That's what they're for.
I wondered, we thought you might be against leaf blowers because there's just the most pointless thing in the world.
Yeah.
You don't like them, do you?
The noise they make is hugely irritating.
Can I this? I'm annoyed by
However,
this.
if you are a gardener and you have acres of leaves,
I'm now in favour of them because they're so much fun.
Yeah, but they don't do for your abs what a rake does.
But I know you're upset. By the way, welcome.
Thank you. Straight in, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know you're upset by people who use electrical items on a Sunday.
Not electrical items, they're often
loud items.
Power items, noisy items. I just think that regardless of your religious sensibilities, it's nice to have one day a week that's quiet.
So true.
And
particularly
Sunday's
ride-on mowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You used to have relatives who lived next to somebody who always brought his ride-on mower out on a Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Because also invariably now there's building work everywhere in the week. There's this even on a Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, turn it in.
But then you'll get people say, yeah, but it's the only day I've got to do it,
true.
you know.
Do you know, there's something about autumnal leaves. Just for you as a gardener, it must be lovely looking at these, just thinking, it does just speak of September, October, November, doesn't it?
Well, it speaks of seasonality. And the lovely thing about gardening in the UK is we're cool temperate. So we get this chance to start again every year with spring. So everything comes down in autumn, gets swept up or blown up, put on the compost heap, rots down, goes back into the soil. Yeah. Lovely cycle.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, I could almost imagine us dressing the studio with these every day in this time of year. It's lovely. So look, Alan is here because he has a new album, Jack Frost, A Winter Story. Tell us about it.
It's a glorious celebration of a time of year when suddenly, and particularly when I was a child, I remember, you'd wake up one morning, there'd be frost on the inside of the window, you'd scratch it off, and you'd look out, and the entire world would be white. And this is a collaboration between the composer Debbie Wiseman, famous for Wolf Hall, Father Brown, great theme writer and proper composer, and me having written a narrative across it, glorious songs in it, including a couple of carols on the album as well. People don't write carols nowadays, but we...
It's lovely. It's almost like listening to a play, isn't it? Where you have one thing and then another thing. And we can actually take a look at Alan narrating Midnight from the album.
Soon he will come. An owl hoots. He is near. His fingers creep across the window pane. Warmth is scampering away. His icy grip misses no one. Nothing can escape Jack Frost.
You like the intense concentration?
Oh, it's so good.
Fitting the words to the music.
So good.
We've got a great soprano called Grace Davison as well. Keris Matthews is singing.
Well, yeah, let me mention Keris, because I work with her on Radio 2, of course. So Welsh singer-songwriter Keris Matthews and her son. Let's have a listen to this.
Frozen fingers, frozen toes, frozen ears and frozen nose, through my window.
The thing of narrating, now this is a little bit selfish. I've written a book, a whodunit, out next year, and they said, can you narrate it, right? And so I've just done that studio thing. Have a look. Sorry. There is my book, and it's on page 250. And because it's a whodunit, I need to be a little bit careful here. So if at some point I'm about to read a clue, I'll have to pause. Look, you can see Lucy is my companion in all this because it's lonely without you, I must say. But what I found is I wasn't very good at doing accents. Did you have to do some for your book?
Not for this one. This is a straight narration.
I had somebody from Manchuria in my book, and I thought,
Uh-oh. That's a tricky one these days.
Well, I think there are some you can't. So you don't do any in yours?
I've done 12 novels, so I've done them in
Right.
novels.
Which ones are you most comfortable with?
I'm hopeless at Geordie, because I'm a Yorkshireman, so I can do flat vowels. But I find it very difficult doing Brenda Blethyn in Vera. That's quite hard.
I think when you write a book, you've got to include accents you can read. That was my theory about it. I've only realised that too late.
It does take a lot of both books I did the audiobook, and it does take the concentration for a stand-up comic whose head's buzzing around everywhere to just sit and read. It's a real art form, and the people that do it well, because it's an experience where you totally can get inside your own head.
You've got to be completely focused on the vocals. The worst thing from a fiction writer is when you go into a love scene.
Uh-oh.
And through the glass there, you see a very large bearded gentleman who's probably picking his nose and he's saying, "She's slipped off her blouse." You know, and you think, I really don't want to read this out loud.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the worst.
Is it worse if it's a large bearded gentleman or if it's a young woman out there and you're then...
The answer to that question is yes.
It is worse,
In
okay.
but in either case, it's
Or if the
pretty
bearded
bad.
gentleman starts taking his blouse off, then it's really complicated.
But yeah, reading books but then it's great, isn't it? Because this had to be read because it's actually not. It's an experience. It's
a story.
a listened to experience.
Yes,
There we are.
And it's lovely. We had people. We did it at the Albert Hall, part of it, on Classic FM Live, and people said I closed my eyes and I could see it all. It's about a little girl.
It sounded
She
so
goes out.
relaxed.
It did.
Well, it is.
It sounded like something immediately I was listening to. I was thinking Christmas Eve. with
Yeah,
my son.
wrapping presents.
You want that. You
Yeah.
want that feeling just before you put into
Well,
bed.
the story
settle them down.
finishes
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve when she goes back. It tells the story of the snow comes down, the traffic stops. So it's very much a narrative. People skating, people dancing on the ice. And then she comes back home and it all starts to drip, 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 but it's still white on Christmas morning. And it is.
I feel really
love
bad
doing
about
it.
the leaf blower now.
No.
I didn't set the tone with that.
didn't, not at all.
I'm gonna just have to do it again in a second. You can listen now to the entire album, Jack Frost: A Winter Story, with Alan Titchmarsh and Keris and many others. Stay with us if you can, as we look at some more stories. And Gemma has a story in the Telegraph. Kemi Badenoch voting against the smoking ban that her former boss Rishi Sunak brought in.
Yes, this is interesting. So Keir Starmer is continuing legislation that Sunak was definitely... well, it was really his thing, wasn't it? To sort of eliminate smoking completely was sort of the ultimate aim. And Kemi Badenoch is going to vote against it. But actually, I think fair enough, because she didn't support it when Sunak was doing it. So there's nothing, you can't level hypocrisy at her. It is absolutely clearly what she thinks.
It's the one which means that if you are under 15 now, you will never be able to buy cigarettes or vapes, even when you're 79. Isn't that amazing? So a 79-year-old will have to cadge cigarettes off an 80-year-old.
I didn't know that it applied to vapes as well.
I thought it did. I think they're thinking about that.
Right,
because
okay, because I think that would make... Look, I'm generally I hate smoking, but I'm also a libertarian. But it did feel weird to be going for a sort of tobacco at a time when kids really aren't interested in that. It's sort of like banning Tamagotchis or something that's way from the past. It feels like for young people, vapes are very much where they're at. And any legislation that doesn't cover that is probably missing the point.
There's another vape thing, which at the weekend I had an item of electrical equipment was fixed for me by somebody who knows a lot about electrics. And he says, his friend's house just burnt down. I said, oh, how was that? Oh, usual thing, charging his vape.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, smoking, we can, people smoke, that's their choice. I'm against houses smoking. Basically.
Yeah.
And he was charging his vape and it went up. And then just not safe, a lot of these things, Alan.
I think that the other thing is that they do... in front of walking down the street, it's like walking behind a dragon, isn't it?
It is.
And it comes...
I know.
It's out in the open.
I do know that they help people who smoke tobacco to sort of transfer onto vapes, but the people I know who vape, they vape continuously.
Yeah, but it's so addictive because the nicotine is the addiction, the tobacco and the burning of the tar is what causes the cancer.
Yeah.
So you've lost the cancer thing, but you've got the addiction thing. And it maybe doesn't matter, but I'm not sure we should have 14-year-olds addicted to vaping.
No, quite. And I think it's completely disingenuous by the vape companies to say, we're not marketing this to kids. This is just our new flavour. Blueberry Fun Times. You're like, come on, man.
No,
it's definitely been
Listen,
marketed.
Storm will speak about this later. OK, should MPs back the smoking ban? And this is the one. I don't know what's going to happen on the vapes, but certainly if you're under 15, you will never, ever be able to buy a cigarette packet, no matter how old you get, even if you're 91. Jeff, in the Express, the gran who's fined because she left a donation beside a charity bin.
Yes, so she was trying to do a good thing. She left the donation there thinking that it was going to be collected and emptied soon, and she was given a £500 fine by the local authority. And what I think is interesting is, right, mistakes are made, right? People get a bit jobsworthy and there's a bit of overreach. So she appealed, and rather than just rescind it, they said, well, we'll give you longer to pay. And, you know, I know this is almost certainly isn't going to happen, but there is, like, criminal proceedings that could still be brought against her. It'd be a weird thing to do time for, to say, what are you in for? Well, I left some old clothes for recycling. It just sometimes people in local authorities could do everybody a lot of favours by just backing down a bit quicker.
Alan, what do you think? Because we hate fly tipping, but then this woman was low-hanging fruit, this woman, isn't
Yes,
she?
there's something not coming into play here, and that's that vital commodity called common sense.
Yes.
It's evident what the woman was trying to do, which was a good thing, you know, help British Heart Foundation by leaving these guys by the bin in a neatly tied bag. Oh, come on.
Well, but the thing, do you know, Alan, as well, that it was done with CCTV, and you think about all the crimes that aren't being solved. But we'll name them. Dartford Borough Council have gone after this lady. So if there's anybody from Dartford Borough Council, maybe the same people that notice kind of hidden things that cyclists could bump into, please see sense on this.
Just quickly say something. I had my car stolen in August, and nothing happened. Got a crime number, and just thought, oh. They have actually done a massive operation and got the thieves, huge car stealing ring. And I thought people should know that, because we all sometimes think, oh, the police aren't doing much. And I was just like, fantastic.
And what is it, a load of grannies or what? I mean, it's...
No, definitely not. I think all these cars were on their way to Europe. It was massive in my area. And they found a picture of my car on the thief's phone.
Oh, my goodness, that's a whole thing. I mean, I love it when the police... Because I was cycling with my wife the other weekend, and we passed 3 police officers in uniform, and we were like, we stopped and looked. They were walking. Yeah, we did. I said, get your camera out. That's crazy, isn't it? That
Is it
becomes
like that opening scene from The Bill?
Yeah,
The feet. Yeah,
I knew that was my
feet.
first thought, is they must be filming something, or it's part of a documentary of how life used to be, or something. I don't know. Alan, it's the iPaper, is it? They've got BBC has decided to go for an all-female presenting lineup for Sports Personality of the Year, bypassing Lineker. Good idea?
I think the important thing here is that Gabby Logan, Alex Scott and Claire Balding are 3 very good, very competent broadcasters.
Yeah.
And I'm not bothered about gender, I'm bothered about whether they're any good at their job. And I think all 3 of those women are very good at what they do. I have no problem with that at all. I think it's going to be quite an exciting push.
I think I agree. I'd just also like to think that if in another year they went with 3 males, that people wouldn't then accuse them of sexism because it was 3 males. I think the British
they
public
would.
Maybe.
I think they would. I think you're right, Gemma. They would. I think that all the British public ever want to not see is double standards.
Maybe it's this is a conspiracy. Do you want a conspiracy?
Go on.
Maybe they're going to put, is it Mark Chapman in on Match of the Day, and they wanted to just like use a thing? Maybe.
Bit of news management.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I can't work out what's going on with Lineker. He's leaving Match of the Day, but he's still going to do the World Cup. He's being eased off this and put onto other... and he's also got his podcast and everything else. Seems like he's not really going. He's going off Match of the Day.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great presenter, you know. I mean, he hasn't been tweeting much recently either.
Yeah, I mean, that's ironic. You'd think that he would go absolutely nuts with the tweet.
Yeah, you would.
Now that he's going. I mean, look, I always thought with Match of the Day, that much money to say, here's the goals from Leicester, you know, I always thought it was quite a lot of money for what he did. But yeah, I think people will be surprised to still see him involved in covering live football.
It'll be very interesting to see where they spend the money they're saving on Zoe Ball and Gary Lineker, who between them, you know, have sort of mopped up huge amounts of money. I wonder where that'll go.
I'm a massive Gary fan, and I think he's probably he's done Saturday nights for a long time. He's got a massive podcasting, and he can still do all the football. And I think he's going to be hard to replace. He's brilliant.
Yeah, and give someone else a go. You know, he's not young anymore. He's had a good go at it. Give someone else a go.
Hang on a minute. He scored for England.
I mean, I'll always respect that.
I mean, you know, you can't find many people who scored for
I get a
England.
bit nervous when you say he's old enough. He's had a good enough run.
That's it. That's what they do. That's what the young ones do. See that?
Oh, no, young.
Accusing us of bed blocking.
47. I just got called young. That's absolutely made my day.
I couldn't even guess to the nearest 10 years how old you are. I'm going to go 54 or something.
Oh,
seriously, I've got no idea.
Well, that's all right then.
He's honestly
Say
not
that, they'll
gonna say.
pension me off. 75.
You're looking good for
Oh,
75.
you look great.
Yeah, you want to see the picture in the attic?
No, that really is Dorian Gray, isn't it? Gemma in The Guardian, Wales prepare to introduce visitor charge for people staying overnight. I look forward to a story one day of there's going to be a tax cut somewhere, but yeah.
I know. So they do this. Where was I? I think it was Italy, where you go, what's that charge
Venice.
on my bill? And there's a tax just for being there.
But it's worked
So
in
you've got
Venice because Venice was basically sinking. And they've properly sorted it.
So,
but
yes.
Wales, different.
So it's going to be 75 pence a night to stay in campsites and hostels and £1.25 for hotel, B&B or holiday let. So it's a levy introduced by Mark Drakeford. So you visit Wales, you pay that little bit extra. I'm guessing it's not enough to put people off, but it will make a considerable contribution to funds that they must need.
What if you can prove that you've got Welsh ancestors?
I have, so do you
Well,
think I'm right?
my grandfather lived in Port Talbot for a while.
OK, my grandfather had a hotel in Llandudno.
There we go.
So Welsh
Do you think
trumps here.
are you Welsh at all?
No, I'm not. I'm a bit Scottish. I once wore a kilt for a do. My great-grandmother was Scottish, and I wore a kilt for a do the Farquhar tartan. And
I beg your pardon?
The Farquhar tartan.
Yes,
I said
yes.
that very carefully.
F-A-R-Q.
And a woman came up to me and said, "Why are you wearing a kilt?" And I said, "My great-grandmother was Scottish." She said, "Far too long ago." I've never worn it since.
This could cause a bit of anger if you are a Welsh person holidaying within Wales.
The
Couldn't
problem
it?
with taxes, once they come in, you get like Gemma said, 75p a night, £1.25 fine.
Yeah,
the
they put it
taxes,
up.
they're a spectrum, and then it'll be per person,
That's it.
per night, per morning. Once that kind of tax is introduced, it only ever tends to go one way.
Yeah.
I think if you want people, it's like, Cornwall, Devon, all the what you might call the holiday counties, who do suffer from locals not being able to buy houses because they've gone up too much in value.
Yeah.
You've got to be a little bit careful about how rude you are to tourists. Otherwise, they may think, well, actually, I won't bother going there.
Well, also, if I was a Welsh hotel owner, this isn't going to help me at all, is it? When you think about it,
Not directly,
because you're going to have to put that onto your charge, and then you know how it works. Is that when people check out, you say. And we've got, I'm not going to do an accent, we've got the, the 75p, it doesn't go to us, of course, goes to, everyone sabotages it.
Yeah.
And you get slated when you pay your bill by everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good idea.
Well, they're also saying they'd use the money to boost the Welsh language. I mean, I don't know. I've got to say the picture of Tenby is beautiful.
Well, I think it's good to save languages, and that's a very good thing. The Times has a story about the anger over City's plan for Land Rover tax on big vehicles. Now, here's one. I don't know, I love watching what goes on in Wales because they are, in some ways, ahead of England in trying stuff. Cardiff City Council is proposing a two-tier charge on bigger cars. That would mean if you've got a vehicle weighing more than 2.4 tonnes, you've got to pay more to park. I mean, we should have been doing this in the 1970s. So these people who are driving what are known as tank panzers will have to pay more. What do you think? Unless they've got a good reason, like if they're a farmer or a gardener.
Yeah, well, exactly. When you live in the country and you need a good four-wheel drive, because if you've got hills around you, as I have like that. We have a friend in the next village who lives on a farm, and he was in London, he's in Fulham, in his Range Rover, and it was covered in mud. Proper working Range Rover. And he stopped at the traffic lights and a police car drew up alongside, motioned him to lower his window. So he lowered his window and the policeman said, "That mud real?"
But that's the
I'm
thing.
against things that are divisive.
In cities.
And, sitting one group of people against another. Why has he got a Oh, come on,
Yeah, but 4x4s are an absolute accursed thing.
But
Well, you live in London.
Yeah. If you live, well, I live, I travel around, but no, I'm in the country, of course. But when you see the space they take up in narrow streets in cities, Cardiff, London, Edinburgh.
You go to see it on certain schools. Sometimes the school run, usually for the more expensive schools, it's like Battle of the Tank with tiny little children in the back.
I do
Well, that's
think
because
they
they're
need
sold
to
on the basis that they're safer. Because if you're buying a car, you're told, look, you're basically driving a tank. No one can hurt you.
Yeah.
You forget that your car can kill other people. And you will have seen the Wimbledon school story where someone I know they
that
fainted
was
at the wheel.
awful,
No other
yeah.
car would have done that. It plunged into a car and killed 2 children.
I do think they're trying to get a culture of moving away from these bigger vehicles. I just think there's a lot of things, particularly this government as well, that are happening in year very quickly. Just give people time to adjust. Give them a 5-year window to adjust to smaller, lighter cars.
Okay. Storm is taking your calls on that as well. So she's going to have a good show today. Should we make bigger cars pay more to park? Do you drive one of them? Do you want to defend it? I know our friend Angela Epstein is very proud of her 4x4. She talks about it a lot. Listen, thank you, Alan. There's the brilliant album, which has the narration, the sense of adventure, the songs, the music. It's
And can I
original.
tell you, it's gone to #1 on Amazon. Yeah,
Since we started speaking.
Yeah.
It's available to listen to now. We'll have more after the break when Storm will be joining us. Oh, I've got to clean up for Storm, OK? Sorry, Alan, I know you don't like loud electricals. We're discussing why women are choosing to have kids on their own, and has the strictly judged Craig Revel Horwood gone soft? More in a sec.